Narcissists do this when they know you've figured them out. Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop believing a narcissist's stories, their entire behavior suddenly begins changing in ways you never expected? That shift is rarely accidental, because they immediately recognize when their emotional control over you starts quietly slipping beyond their reach. The version of them you once knew often disappears because manipulation only works while someone continues accepting carefully crafted illusions without question. Once you finally understand their patterns, they realize their favorite strategies no longer produce the emotional reactions they depended on for validation. That realization creates a dangerous turning point, because losing influence often feels like losing power over the relationship itself. Today, you'll discover the surprising behaviors narcissists commonly display after they realize you've completely figured them out and stopped playing their game. The first thing many narcissists do is suddenly become unusually calm instead of reacting with immediate anger or obvious panic. This calmness often surprises people because they expect emotional explosions instead of calculated silence designed to confuse their growing confidence. Rather than admitting they have been exposed, they quietly observe your behavior while searching for weaknesses they can still exploit later. They want to know whether your awareness is temporary or whether your emotional dependence has permanently disappeared beyond their influence. This period becomes a silent investigation because they constantly analyze your words, reactions, and boundaries with remarkable attention. They hope to discover one emotional opening capable of restoring the control they gradually feel slipping away every single day. Another common reaction involves rewriting the past so completely that even obvious memories suddenly become questionable inside your own mind. They begin denying conversations, changing timelines, and minimizing painful experiences that previously happened right in front of both of you. Their goal is not simply avoiding responsibility, because confusion makes people easier to manipulate than certainty ever possibly could. If they successfully weaken your confidence in your own memory, your growing awareness becomes much easier for them to dismantle. This psychological tactic creates emotional exhaustion because defending reality eventually becomes more tiring than remaining silent about painful truths. That exhaustion often pushes victims towards self-doubt, giving narcissists another opportunity to regain lost emotional influence once again. Many narcissists also become unexpectedly charming after realizing you've recognized their manipulative patterns and emotional games completely. They may apologize, offer thoughtful gifts, or suddenly become the caring partner you always hoped they could eventually become. These changes frequently appear sincere because they understand exactly what emotional needs remained unfulfilled throughout the relationship before now. They temporarily become everything you wanted, because hope often lowers defenses faster than fear ever successfully manages to accomplish. The kindness feels genuine until your boundaries begin relaxing and your emotional guard slowly starts disappearing once again. After trust returns, their previous patterns usually reappear because the underlying need for control never truly disappeared at all. Another behavior involves quietly recruiting other people to reshape how friends and family eventually view the situation around you. Instead of confronting you directly, they begin carefully sharing selective stories that make themselves appear misunderstood and unfairly treated. This strategy allows them to protect their public image while slowly weakening the credibility of anything you might later reveal. People unfamiliar with narcissistic manipulation often believe these carefully edited stories because they sound emotionally believable and completely reasonable. The narcissist understands that protecting reputation often matters more than protecting genuine relationships built upon honesty and mutual respect. Creating doubt around your experiences gives them another powerful layer of emotional protection when accountability finally arrives unexpectedly. Some narcissists respond by provoking unnecessary arguments because emotional reactions distract attention from the truth you already discovered. They deliberately create conflict over insignificant issues until every conversation becomes exhausting, confusing, and emotionally overwhelming for everyone involved. When you become frustrated, they point toward your emotional response instead of discussing their own manipulative behavior honestly. This redirection changes the focus because defending yourself becomes easier than confronting the uncomfortable reality they desperately wish to avoid. Chaos becomes an effective shield because people struggling emotionally often have less energy for clear logical thinking every single day. The narcissist benefits whenever confusion replaces clarity, because emotional instability creates opportunities for renewed psychological manipulation once more. Another revealing sign appears when they suddenly accuse you of doing exactly what they have been doing for years. If they manipulated your emotions, they now claim you are controlling and emotionally abusive toward them without justification whatsoever. If they constantly lied, they begin questioning your honesty while acting deeply wounded by imagined acts of betrayal instead. This psychological projection shifts responsibility away from themselves while placing enormous emotional pressure directly onto your shoulders instead. You may spend countless hours defending accusations that never reflected your actual behavior or genuine intentions in the relationship. Meanwhile, they quietly avoid discussing the original issues because distraction protects their fragile sense of superiority remarkably well. Many narcissists also test your boundaries repeatedly after realizing you no longer respond exactly the way you once did. They ignore small requests first because they want to measure whether your new confidence remains strong during uncomfortable situations. Each ignored boundary becomes an experiment designed to discover whether your personal growth will eventually begin fading over time. When you remain consistent, they recognize something important has fundamentally changed within your emotional mindset and personal identity. Consistency becomes surprisingly powerful because predictable boundaries leave very little room for manipulation to quietly return unnoticed again. That reliability often frustrates narcissists because emotional uncertainty once gave them tremendous influence over your everyday decisions. Some narcissists disappear completely after realizing their emotional control has permanently ended and cannot easily be restored anymore. This sudden disappearance often feels shocking because they once demanded constant attention, validation, and emotional availability from your daily life. Leaving first allows them to preserve their pride while avoiding the painful reality that they actually lost control instead. To outsiders, it may seem like they simply moved on naturally without emotional difficulty or lingering resentment toward anyone. Behind that appearance, however, many continue monitoring your life indirectly through mutual friends or online activity whenever possible. They often struggle accepting irrelevance because admiration and emotional influence became central parts of their personal identity for years. Perhaps the most surprising behavior is how determined they become to regain your emotional attention through any available means. Positive attention no longer matters because negative attention still confirms they occupy valuable space inside your emotional world today. They may create unexpected emergencies, dramatic misunderstandings, or emotional crises requiring your immediate involvement and sympathetic concern once again. Every response reminds them that they still possess influence capable of pulling your focus back toward their emotional needs. Silence becomes especially powerful because it refuses to reward manipulation with the attention it desperately seeks for survival. Healthy detachment communicates something words often cannot, because emotional independence quietly removes their strongest source of influence forever. Recognizing these behaviors is not about fearing narcissists because awareness gives you the ability to respond with greater wisdom instead. Their actions become far less confusing once you understand the psychological need driving each carefully calculated emotional strategy behind them. Instead of questioning your instincts, you begin trusting the consistent patterns repeatedly revealed through their everyday choices and behaviors. That confidence slowly replaces anxiety, because clarity naturally weakens manipulation more effectively than endless arguments ever possibly could. Real freedom begins when you stop explaining your reality to someone committed to denying it, regardless of the evidence. The moment they know you figured them out is often the moment your true emotional strength finally begins shining through unmistakably. If this video helped you understand narcissistic behavior more clearly, share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, recognizing manipulation is not about changing the narcissist because it is about protecting your own peace, confidence,